October just flew by in the blink of an eye. I have no idea where the time went, but that's pretty typical of this time of year because there's so much going on and so much you're trying to squeeze in. The time just seems to fly. It is now the first week of October, and I really don't want that to happen in the month of October as well. I don't want it to feel like it flew by. So I really want to be intentional and mindful and enjoy a lot of what the season has to offer, especially here in New England where we come alive and the magic is in the air during the fall season, especially with the foliage and all of the activities on farms and in the neighboring towns. So we really want to spend the next couple of days enjoying some of these activities, being super cozy, and just having some of those really present moments. We are going to be taking a trip to Salem, which I don't have to even tell you is so magical this time of year. It is the place to be. It really comes alive, and we haven't yet made a trip out there and really want to see it for Halloween and the month of October because they really go all out. So we'll be taking a trip there. We're also going to go pick out some pumpkins to put on our front porch. I think I'm finally ready to embrace pumpkin fever. And then I'm also going to be starting my witchy reads and also going back to some fantasy that I've had on my TBR for so long. I might do a combination of scary but also some rom-coms with the witchy reads. There are always a ton of great ones that come out every year, so I'm going to grab some of those. Potentially do some annotations because that's like my new favorite thing to do. And then I also want to focus on some journaling. At the end of every month, I'd like to sit down with my feelings and just kind of check in with myself and see how I'm doing. I think it's really important before the beginning of a new quarter or a new month to just see where you are and take stock of those feelings. And then lastly, I want to make some cozy meals. We have this lasagna soup recipe that we go to when we want that comfort and that hug in a bowl, and it is just the perfect recipe for a little feeling of coziness. So thanks for being here. Let's spend the next couple of days doing some of these fun October fall cozy activities. At the end of one month and the beginning of another month is to just take stock of my feelings and my mental state. It's really hard to enjoy all of the exciting things that you have planned if you're not in the right headspace to receive those things and really be fully present. So I like to just sit down for a couple of minutes and see where my feelings are and if I'm holding on to anything that maybe I need to let go before I step into the new month. So since it is the beginning of October, I thought it'd be a great time to just sit down for a couple of minutes and do this exercise. So in the planner that I'm using this year, this is the 2023 Year of Growth Planner from a company called Dreamy Moons. They are a woman-owned Australian-based company. I'll leave it linked below if you're interested in getting this journal for yourself. But in this journal, at the end of every month, they have a goodbye page, and it kind of has you putting closure to that month, asking a couple of questions about what you enjoyed, what you didn't enjoy, and just some intention setting for the upcoming month. I think this is a great way to be mindful of the things that drain you of energy, that give you energy, what you want more of, less of. It's just a great way to sit down with your feelings and make note of those things. And then for the new month, it also has a page that asks you about your priorities and what you're going to be manifesting, the things that you would like to spend your time and energy on, and the things that bring you joy. So I think it's a great way to just check in with yourself and see how you're doing, because life can get so busy and we can always tend to put ourselves last after everything and everyone else, especially if you have children or a spouse or a busy job or all the things that can get in the way of just our own mental health. So I like doing this at the end of the month and the beginning of the month, sometimes in between if I need it, but definitely before the start of like a new season or a new chapter. So I've got my cozy cup of tea here, and I'm just gonna put on some ambient music and spend a couple of minutes with myself. were just in Salem a couple of days ago. It is the cutest little town, and needless to say, it comes alive at this time of year. This is when it really showcases what it's all about. And I've been wanting to go for a couple of years, but I just didn't want to deal with the crowds, and I thought it would be too intense. But I'm really glad we decided to go this year at the beginning of the month, even though there were tons of crowds still. But it was just such a fun day. You could almost feel the magic in the air. Everything was kind of spooky, but also playful. There's a lot of people around, and a lot of them are dressed up and they're in character, and it's just such a fun day out. And while we were there, we were popping in and out of different shops, the little apothecary stores and the spooky little tea sellers and all sorts. And of course, I had to pop into the bookstore that's there. It was called Wicked Good Books, and it's a cute little tiny place that I just took a little browse around, and I didn't really see anything that really stood out to me until I was almost about to leave and I saw this copy of Hocus Pocus. This is illustrated by Chris Grimley. This is kind of a book version of the movie in illustration form, and I saw this book last year going around, and I really wanted it last year because, of course, Hocus Pocus, like many others, is one of my favorite movies, and it has such childhood nostalgia for me. But I didn't want to buy it last year off of Amazon or one of these kind of big retail stores. I just felt like it was so impersonal, and so I kind of left it. And so while I was in Salem and I saw a copy of it, I thought, you know, how fitting for me to get this book where it was actually filmed, and I could also support a local business. So I decided to grab it. This book is just so good. I mean, just from a quick flip through, I can see that Gris did such a good job of doing the illustrations justice to the characters that are from the movie. Like, you can tell Bette Midler's expressions and Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy Najimy's expressions as well are so spot on with exactly what you see in the movie. And the art style is kind of caricature-y, but I don't think I mind it because it kind of goes with the theme of how the movie is told, and because their expressions are so vivid and so drastic, that I think that caricature style really goes with it. I also love that the pages are pages that you would see like in a witch's kind of magical potion book. I love that they're kind of textured and a little yellow. It's almost like they're kind of dated and from like the 16th century. So I love that they thought everything through. It is such a good, what they call an illustrated novelization of the movie. And I can't wait to read this hopefully every year to my son as he gets a little bit older, and just bring back those nostalgic feelings from when I was a kid as well. So I'm really glad I got a copy of that. And then the other three books I have here are three kind of spooky, magical, witchy books for this season. I am finally ready to dive first into these types of reads. The first one I have here is Kingdom of the Wicked. This is part of a romance fantasy series. I believe there are 3 books out. I did not catch the train last year of reading these. I kind of missed it because I was reading other things. So I'm excited to get to it this year. I don't know much about what it's about, and that's how I usually like to keep my fantasy books. I just like to be surprised, and so I'm not gonna really look into what it is about, but I've heard good things, and I'm excited that I at least have the 3 books in case it is kind of one of those where you want to read it back to back. That's the benefit of not reading books when they come out at first and following the trend, is you don't have to wait for the next release. The next 2 books I have here are Bewitched and The Nature of Witches. These are both kind of witchy books. One of them is a little bit more fantastical in that sense that it has, I think, more plot and political intrigue. In this one, I believe it's about a girl who's trying to get into a coven, and she needs to like prove herself through some tests, and along the way she meets a man who kind of mistakes her for being his long dead wife who betrayed him. So I can imagine that leads to all kinds of stuff. And then The Nature of Witches, in this one, I believe this is a universe where the witches control the seasons and the climates and everything that happens with the weather, and they use that ability to either help the ones they love or to help protect against the ones that are trying to cause evil in their world. So that just sounds super intriguing, and I think it's set across all of the different season, so I'm excited to get to that one. I love this time of year. I love seizing all of the atmospheric reads and just kind of putting myself into these different worlds of magic and mystique and all the things. So I'm really excited about getting to these kind of spooky Halloween-y books. Nothing like a bowl of soup in autumn, and so that is usually my go-to for whenever I want to feel cozy and any kind of warm feelings. And this recipe actually combines the best of both worlds, so it's soup but in lasagna form, which is incredible, and it doesn't take as long as a lasagna, which is an added bonus. So combining Italian food and soup is the ultimate combination for a cozy autumn dinner. I will leave the recipe link down below, the one I used. I always tweak it for my own spices just because I like things a little bit more seasoned, and so you can do that as well. Just adjust as you need, but the general steps are down there in the recipe. It is seriously so good and warming, and it's just like that comfort meal that gives you a hug in a bowl, and it is one of my go-tos. So I will leave it down below, and I strongly encourage you to make some as well if you are craving some of that coziness, and I can't wait to dive into this bowl today.